World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict that took place from 1914 to 1918. It involved major powers from Europe, as well as other nations from around the world. The war was primarily triggered by a complex web of alliances, rivalries, and tensions among European powers. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary by a Serbian nationalist in June 1914 served as a catalyst. Two main alliances emerged before the war: the Triple Entente, comprising France, Russia, and the United Kingdom, and the Central Powers, including Germany, Austria-Hungary, and later the Ottoman Empire. The war quickly turned into a stalemate along the Western Front, a series of trenches stretching from Belgium to Switzerland. Both sides engaged in brutal trench warfare, with massive casualties and little territorial gain. In the east, German and Austro-Hungarian forces fought against Russian armies. The front lines were more fluid, and various battles took place across Eastern Europe. World War I witnessed the introduction of new military technologies, including machine guns, tanks, airplanes, submarines, and chemical weapons, which caused significant casualties and transformed the nature of warfare. The war expanded beyond Europe, with major battles fought in the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. European colonial territories became theaters of war. The United States initially remained neutral but eventually joined the Allied powers in 1917, primarily due to German submarine attacks on American ships and the interception of the Zimmermann telegram, which revealed Germany's plan to ally with Mexico against the US. As the war dragged on, exhaustion, economic strain, and internal turmoil led to collapses within the Central Powers. In November 1918, an armistice was signed, ending the fighting. World War I had profound consequences. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed heavy reparations on Germany and redrew the map of Europe. It also set the stage for future conflicts and laid the groundwork for World War II. The war resulted in an estimated 17 million deaths, including soldiers and civilians, and left millions more injured or displaced. It had a lasting impact on the global political, social, and economic landscape. In this video, we will take you through a series of images that depict the timeline of World War I, from its beginning to its end. Let's begin our journey and explore the significant moments of this war. This photo was taken minutes before the assassination of the Archduke and his wife. Police pursue a suspect after the shooting of Austria's Archduke Franz Ferdinand in Sarajevo. Prussian soldiers leaving Berlin for the front are given flowers by a woman during World War I. Belgian troops set out from Brussels in the direction of Louvain. Serbian soldiers take position on the battle line, some of the first battles of World War I. German troops stand in formation during the occupation of Brussels. A Belgian machine gun detachment sets up near Halen. Indian troops arrive in France during World War I. German soldiers speak with each other on the Western Front. France's battle-torn Marne district is reduced to rubble and mud. People crowd the Antwerp quaysides as they prepare for an exodus out of the city. In October 14, 1914, Belgian civilians and a cavalry detail move out of the pathway of the German advance in Antwerp, Belgium. Allied troops huddle in a trench around a tiny fire near Ypres, Belgium. Bodies on a battlefield after the Battle of Champagne in France. German soldiers gather at Christmas at an unknown location. A lone wounded Austrian soldier lies on the field of battle. Allied soldiers eat and drink in a shell hole in France. Australian troops arrive in Alexandria, Egypt, en route to the battlefield on the Gallipoli Peninsula. A Turkish soldier takes aim at British troops. A Turkish cannon moves to the front lines on the Gallipoli Peninsula, Turkey. In 1915, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, military commander of the Turkish troops in Gallipoli, Turkey, looks over the battlefield. French troops man a lookout in France during a battle in the Argonne forest. German troops cut a barbed wire fence in an unknown location. A bridge, an abandoned tank and shell craters full of water on the battlefield in Saint-Julien, Belgium. An unidentified soldier, wearing a gas mask around his neck, bangs on a frying pan as a gas warning on the field near Reims, France. Turkish soldiers form a queue to get water from a fountain, behind their lines in Gallipoli. the British cargo and passenger ship Lusitania as it sets out for England. Boat 139 which sank the Lusitania in an unknown location. Troops are mobilized on the bank of the Danube River across from Belgrade. In this 1915 photo, Turkish soldiers raised their flag at Gallipoli, Turkey. French soldiers moved troops and cargo at Mixerville, France, during the World War I Battle of Verdun. One of the batteries of the famous French 75s at Douaumont, France during the World War I Battle of Verdun. The battlefield, pockmarked with craters filled with water, after the major World War I Battle of Verdun, France. In this August 1916 photo, Gen. Sir Sam Hughes and an unidentified group look at ruins in Arras, France. French troops in a shell hole during the offensive which resulted in its winning back of the Chemin des Dames in France at the end of October 1917. French troops attend to the funeral of an unknown aviator at an unknown location. The front in France, a scene on a battlefield at midnight. Austro-Hungarian troops executing Serbian civilians. The Japanese fleet off the coast of China in 1914. View from an airplane of biplanes flying in formation. The Macedonian front, Indian troops at a gas mask drill. The French battleship Bouvet, in the Dardanelles. British soldiers on motorcycles in the Dardanelles, part of the Ottoman Empire prior to the Battle of Gallipoli. A dog belonging to a Mr. Dumas Relier, dressed as a German soldier in 1915. Pillbox demolishers, being unloaded on the Western Front. Their explosions made craters over 15 feet deep and 15 yards across. Highlanders, soldiers from the United Kingdom, take sandbags up to the front in 1916. British artillery bombards German positions on the Western Front. A British officer leads the way over the top amid the bursting of German shells. American soldiers, members of Maryland's 117th Trench Mortar Battery, operating a trench mortar. A German soldier throws a hand grenade against enemy positions, at an unknown battlefield. French soldiers, some wounded, at the taking of Courcelles, in the department of Oise, France. A stretcher-bearer patrol painfully makes its way through knee-deep mud. German soldiers practice with a flamethrower on April 4, 1917. Soldiers and a dog outside a ruined house in 1917. British tanks pass dead Germans who were alive before the cavalry advanced a few minutes before the picture was taken. Western Front, German A-7V tanks drive through a village near Reims in 1918. Ottoman Turk Machine Gun Corps at Gaza Line, in 1917, part of the Sinai and Palestine campaign. A bridge across the mud flats in Flanders, Belgium, in 1918. An aerial view of the hellish moonscape of the Western Front. A color photograph of Allied soldiers on a battlefield on the Western Front. A German ammunition column, men and horses equipped with gas masks, pass through woods contaminated by gas. German soldiers flee a gas attack in Flanders, Belgium in September of 1917. Members of the German Red Cross, carrying bottle of liquid to revive those who have succumbed to a gas attack. British enter Lille, France, after 4 years of German occupation. A German dog hospital, treating wounded dispatch dogs coming from the front in 1918. French troops walk on regained ground near the River Meuse. Turkish soldiers at a military review at Damascus, Syria. The German fleet with battle cruisers on the way in the North Sea to meet the British Grand Fleet in the Battle of Jutland. The British Grand Fleet on their way to meet the Imperial German Navy's fleet for the Battle of Jutland in the North Sea. German troops man a machine gun post from a trench at the Vistula River in Russia during World War I. Australian artillery soldiers operate a large caliber gun at the Somme front in France during World War I. French soldiers carry the wounded during the World War I Battle of the Somme, France. French Captain Georges Guynemer in front of his shot-down plane in Piennes, France. President Woodrow Wilson delivers a speech to the joint session of Congress in Washington, United States. German soldiers bring in Canadian wounded during the Battle of Vimy, France. German mine-throwing troops, at an attack at the Kiel and Polg Mounts, Germany. World War I Canadian soldiers carry a stretcher through the mud near Bozing, Belgium. A Canadian soldier helps an injured German soldier to a dressing station. An unidentified World War I soldier walks along wooden planks near Ypres, Belgium. British World War I soldiers return in formation to Ypres, Belgium. The cathedral in the town square of Ypres, Belgium, is in ruins after bombing. Wounded Canadian and German World War I soldiers help one another through the mud during the Battle of Passchendaele, Belgium. World War I wounded are being placed in ambulance during the advance on Lens, France. An old type tank came into use during World War I and increased the mobility of soldiers. British troops run under heavy fire outside Cambrai, France. A World War I trench wins through the village of Brabant-en-Meuse near Verdun, France in 1917. Smoke billows out of buildings in Cambrai, France, after being bombarded by German forces in Battle of Cambrai. British General Sir Edmund Allenby enters the captured city of Jerusalem. Wounded World War I soldiers play a game at a London hospital. In June 1917, the first troops of the American Expeditionary Force land at the French port of Saint-Nazaire, France. The first 5,000 American soldiers to reach England march across historic Westminster Bridge in London. U.S. Army General John J. Pershing inspects French troops at Boulogne, France. An American soldier from the 1st Division throws a hand grenade in battle along the Western Front in France. A field of barbed wire in a no-man's land near Ancerville, France. 2 soldiers are passed by tanks on their way to support French troops in Juvigny, France. AEF goes over the top of a trench during an American offensive of World War I in the Battle of Cantigny, France. Soldiers attend the burial of fellow soldiers and 2 Canadian nurses, killed in German air raid. United States Army troops stand in the trenches in France during World War I. American troops carrying guns with fixed bayonets climb over a sandbag revetment in France. Italian army soldiers look out of their dugouts at the Battle of the Piave River. Members of the Red Cross sort the backpacks of dead and wounded soldiers in France. American troops from the 18th Infantry, 1st Division, pause in a ruined French town near Saint-Mihiel, France during World War I. U.S. troops of the 107th Regiment Infantry, 27th Division, advance on a path through a barbed wire entanglement near Somme, France during World War I. German reserves are rushed to the front by trucks in Germany. U.S. Marines respond to a gas attack near Verdun, France during World War I. In September 26, 1918, a U.S. Army 37mm gun crew man their position during Meuse-Argonne Allied offensive in France. American soldiers from New York, who served on the front line in Cambria, France, rig up a Liberty Bell to celebrate the signing of the armistice to end World War I. In November 11, 1918, a group of people gather in front of Buckingham Palace in London, England to celebrate the signing of the armistice that ended the fighting of World War I. In November 11, 1918, people in the streets of Paris, France, celebrate the signing of the armistice that ended the fighting of World War I. In this 1918 photo, American troops, near Saint-Mihiel, France, cheer after hearing the news that the armistice has been signed, ending World War I. I hope that's enough for today. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe for more informative videos. See you in the next video.